PM everyone. It's Wednesday at night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 2400 UTC. You know what that means. Another episode of Let's Play Lil Nouns. Surprisingly, a lot going on this week, including a couple of props that we might execute live on air. We'll be back and we will get started in 40 seconds. GM Index. How are you, Index?
GM. You said it was 2400 UTC, 2400 like UTC, I think, or something like that. Is it possible to hit 2400?
Maybe it's just zero.
Yeah. I don't know. But how are you doing?
I'm good. Let's run through these disclaimers. We got a lot to talk about, man. I feel like there's a lot of consequential props, a lot going on. But of course, a little disclaimer here: this live stream here is an adventure. It's definitely not financial advice, definitely not legal advice. And the show right now that you are watching is sponsored by Lil Nouns DAO. LilNouns.wtf/vote/116. Just a reminder, Lil Nouns is a very, very hard game to play. Nouns is a hard game to play. But this show is sponsored by Lil Nouns. So shout out Lil Nouns.
Yeah. We got sponsored quite a ways ago. On-chain. My first ever on-chain sponsorship. And probably my first ever sponsorship in general. So shout out to Lil Nouns.
Shout out to Lil Nouns. We're in season 3 here for what has it been? A couple weeks, a month.
I don't actually really know. It's like we were in like a perpetual state of like season 3 beginning, and then I'm not sure what really kicked it off. Maybe when the fork closed. But yeah, we were in like a long transition period. Now I guess we're fully in it, but I don't know if we have a specific date.
Yeah. Let's do a little tease here for what's coming. I've jumped over to here to nouns.wtf/vote. Prop 384, lower fork threshold to 10%. This passed pretty solidly here. And it's going to be eligible to execute it pretty soon.
Yeah, so after a prop passes, someone has to queue it. That's kind of like a manual transaction. I guess someone can set up a bot to do it. And then there's 2 days where I guess it's the Nouns Foundation can utilize their veto to veto a proposal. And then if nothing happens in those 2 days, anyone can execute the prop. And so those 2 days are coming to an end in about like 25 minutes. And so we get the chance to kind of execute a prop live on chain. I've been doing a lot of executing. I kind of launched the fork. I deployed the Gardener tokens. I executed the prop in Littles to add the artwork to the protocol recently. I've done a few others, and I don't know why I like to do it, but it's fun. You kind of get to play game dev here to kind of relay it back to our Let's Play theme. But we'll get to actually, even though we didn't propose these changes, we'll get to kind of actually alter the way the game is played.
Yeah, little known fact, I didn't know at first, but yeah, anyone, once these props are eligible to be executed, anyone can execute them on Ethereum.
And I do think that this proposal will have pretty solid consequences. I feel like a fork is going to come. Fork 1, I guess we already saw fork 0. Fork 1 will come pretty quickly, but we can come back to that later when we execute. And maybe by the end of the show, we'll have someone in escrow. Could be me. Who knows?
Could you start a new fork now? Or no, it would be at the 20% then. I see.
Yeah. I guess you could. I don't know if it's as coordinated as this time around. But yeah, I don't really know if there is 20% or how people would know there's 20% to start start escrowing. Maybe there's like a dashboard somewhere, but at 10%, I think it's a little more likely that the numbers are out there ready to fork again and rage quit.
All right. Well, let's jump to that sort of second half of the show. That's going to be exciting. But for now, we had kind of a little fun thing. We were chatting here beforehand, and yeah, 15 days ago, Prop 376 was put on chain and executed. So this is sort of a big change to the game of nouns, in that it takes the proposal flow from 10 days, which is what it's been for a while, to a total of 7 days. So what I was thinking is, what if we put together like a little graphic that kind of sort of an infographic that kind of explains this patch update, right?
Yeah, that kind of like goes back to our roots a little bit. I made a few graphics when we were kind of in our heyday around the idea of nouns already being the game that we're all playing, and kind of really leaning into that with like settings and kind of like infographics and patch updates. So this would be a little bit throwback to our earlier days. And yeah, I guess we'll give it a shot.
Let's do it. All right. So in terms of the copy, I mean, really, we just want to convey that there's 2.5 days to edit. Then there's a half day of voting delay, and then a 4-day voting period.
Yeah. Let's see.
And in fact, looking at it now, this seems like it's sort of the most consequential thing, because voting used to be 7 days.
5.
5. Oh, voting was never 7?
No. It was proposed. I actually don't know if it was proposed to be 7, but I know there was a proposal to increase it, and it fell outside the bounds of the maximum allowed in the contracts. And so it kind of didn't really work out. And then it just kind of stayed at 5, even though I do think those numbers are updated and it could potentially be 7. But yeah, it was always 5 and 5. 5 delay, 5 voting period for a 10-day cycle. So got shortened by 3 days, and we lost one day on the voting period.
Right. So if you always waited to the last day to vote under the old regime, now you only have 4 days.
Yeah, I like this prop. I voted for it. I also executed it just because I felt like it. But yeah, I like it. It speeds things up. It's a little drawn out for someone who's like fully tuned in and follows everything. Some of those props felt like they were taking forever.
Yeah.
I know for like sub DAOs and subgroups, it's not ideal, and it's harder. It's going to be harder to coordinate. We'll see how that plays out in the next few props. But for an individual noun holder who's plugged in as much as I am, shorter is fine with me.
Yeah. Although I'll say, the big change is at 10 days, basically, you had 10 days to review the prop because it wouldn't change. But under this new system, theoretically, you could read it the first day, but then, right before it goes on, right before the voting delay period, it changes massively. And then you only really have 4.5 days to read and decide how you're going to vote on that new prop.
Yeah. So even though like the voting period on the previous settings was 5 days, it kind of sort of was 10 for like SubDAO's perspective. You know, you had a full 10 days to kind of look and vote. Now, I don't know if a SubDAO is going to start voting in those first 2.5 days. I don't know. I don't actually use my vote in littles. I delegate it, so I haven't looked.
Yeah. So, and then also for Nouncil, right? It's going to crunch that time period up.
Yeah, I think as of now, I do have a little bit of like Nouncil exposure, and it hasn't. We are voting currently during those initial 2.5 days. So our voting goes live the second the prop goes live, thanks to Nerman.
Nice. But what do you think this will lead to lower turnout in Nouncil?
Probably. Yeah, Nouncil does have like their own threshold, so maybe some of the stragglers will kind of miss that deadline, and maybe Nouncil votes abstain more, because if they don't meet the threshold, we vote abstain. And I know that has happened in a couple of props recently. But yeah, I guess that's threshold versus core. I don't know. We use different things, so yeah, we'll see.
Well, what do you think is the most important kind of bit of information that you think should be disseminated about this patch? Like if you had to pin it down to one thing.
I think the biggest thing is that it's like a 7-day cycle to me for a prop, 1 week. Obviously, the updatable thing is kind of new, but I don't know if that's like a major update. It's kind of like a quality of life update. Yeah, I don't know. Just a 7-day prop life cycle is the biggest part.
Okay. Let's hop over to Figma. I'm gonna take my stab at this roughly. This is going way back to our nouns.game days.
These are some nice graphics.
This is a great job, man. You got into this. Okay, I'm gonna start with this one over here. All right. So we are talking about prop 376.
Just back to the old days with the quiet. too. I got a little bit.
I'm just trying to madman out a kind of one quick design.
I think we're kind of on the same page. I got my own little thing down here. I feel like we're on the same page. Maybe not.
Let's see what you're doing. Are you making like a UX for this, or are you making a graphic?
It's kind of a graphic. I don't want to ruin it though. What is the? I don't know. Like this is kind of like it in percentages.
Oh yeah, it's 2.5.
Why am I turned? That's why I'm confused. Yeah, so this is like it broken down into percentages.
Oh yeah.
So this is like updatable period. This is the delay, and then this is the voting period. I don't know if this graphic makes too much sense, but this would be like splitting the bar up.
Yeah, I like it.
It's not perfect, but we really know that it's in blocks, not days. Subject to change based on block time.
Yes, subject to block block completion time. What is it? Block validation. Ooh, coming in hot, Prop 394, the burn audit funding.
Yep, it's getting real. The Verbs team moving kind of fast with the whole thing, which is kind of impressive. I'm trying to think of things to fill the airtime here, but I kind of like just like the work vibes. SQ if he listens back tomorrow. Sorry if there's a lot of silence.
I like it too.
Up to you. Is it updatable with an E or with no E? It's kind of both, depending, but without the E is more common. And I think the function has A without the E, but in one portion of the contract it has the E in it. I found.
Ooh, a little Easter egg there.
Only for like someone like me.
So it's updatable. What's the next thing called?
Delay.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see.
It's kind of bugging me that delay doesn't fit.
I'm trying to think of ways we can make the whole thing bigger.
Or if we just kind of shrink, does that mess you up if we just shrink it?
What, it's not no longer a proportion?
That's gonna drive you nuts, isn't it?
That's okay. I don't know if we're releasing this through all the official channels at this moment anyway, but there's got to be a good way to kind of visualize these. Kind of like your prop in blocks, but the blocks are just, there's just so many blocks. It's kind of impractical.
I mean, it is kind of funny to show this in blocks.
I think we tried once. It was just too many blocks, right? Or maybe that was nouns. I don't know. Something kind of crashed my whole computer one time.
Oh, those were the days, man. Ooh, we got a new bid on noun 867 here. While we've been live, the 31 ETH.
Yeah, assuming we see kind of like an escrow and a fork start tonight or tomorrow morning, the period will be only 3.5 days once 10% is hit to join. So potentially only a few more nouns to hit fork 1, and then you start to get into trickier territory because you have to get to 40, and there's always the prospect of noun distribution and burn mechanics being at play. So it's going to be strange. Oh, I feel like I have a little bit of an idea here, but let's see. Maybe not.
Yeah, it's interesting how Nounsler, Lil Nouns voted on this because, yeah, that compressed voting window really is going to change the dynamics, I think.
Yeah, I know Joel voted strongly. I believe it was against kind of in Nounsel's honor, I guess. So I tend to vote. I don't know if this is like an admission here, kind of like a confession, and I don't know if it makes a lot of sense, but I vote with all my holdings as if like those are my only holdings. And that may be silly. Although today I guess I voted it out of solidarity with a little nouner. But typically if I vote with my noun, I vote as if the noun is the only thing I hold.
Meaning,
and in Nounsel, I vote as like a Nounseler. So I put on like, I kind of role play as each, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. You have different voter constituencies for each position.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel a little crazy doing it, but I try and put myself in kind of that holder's shoe, whether it's a Nounseler or a little nouner. Even though I delegate, I still try and think of what a little nouner should do. So on and so forth.
Shout out to our viewers.
Where's Aniello been?
Oh, look, we got Aberdell out here. Isn't that SQ? Shout out Aberdell.
Let's see.
Yeah, nouns 2. I think this is Mike. Totally agree with you. Only 2 days to vote now. That is a big. That is a big change.
Yeah,
It'll be a lot harder to campaign for the little votes.
kind of. You've got to really rely on like candidacies now, candidate props, that kind of stuff. And get your feedback there first before going. Maybe if you're concerned, or play the long game in littles, maybe more than you would maybe in the past. But the good thing with littles is that the votes can be kind of turned. Changed. I was gonna say turn around, but on Snapshot, your vote isn't locked in, so you do have the chance to change it at the end. But
I like the way you did this much better than mine, so I'm gonna move my crap out of the way.
I mean, what you did was kind of what I did. It needs work. I think maybe more colors. Probably I could probably copy your colors here. Maybe not. It looks kind of play schoolish. But that's okay. We are little nouners. And then you could still do like that's probably bad. Anyway, something like that. I probably come back to this and mess around with it a bit if we're going to distribute it. Still need that front end for it, but to be determined.
Dude, I think that's good. I'm gonna share this in Little Nouns Discord
while I'm live working on it.
It's really, this thing seems like it's going to impact Little Nouns kind of the most. Little Nouns, Nounsel, NARS, Goop. Does it change Federation?
Yeah. Probably just automatically. I guess you only have 4 days minus 2 hours to do Federation props now. Yeah. But I don't think that altered it too much. I don't. Cute. People were really bidding. Yeah. SQ's great. He's been keeping Lils going pretty strong. He came up with that incredible idea to do calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I think it was like his idea only. Definitely not Mike Good's idea at all either.
That's what I heard. It was just SQ.
Yeah, just SQ. So without him, I don't know where Lowe's would be.
A quick interlude here. I am at new front-end, new client nouns.camp or census.wtf. What is this, man? This thing just seems like it just popped up.
Yeah, it's time to execute the prop too, though. I don't know if unless someone else has already done it.
Oh yeah, go for it. You wanna take us through that?
Someone's gonna beat me to it. Let's see. I don't even know which tab it is. Oh, I can't share that tab. Let's see. I'm gonna get beat to the punch here. There I am. I have to share my whole window, but whatever. Proposal 384, lower fork threshold to 10%. So I click the button, execute.
Go for it.
And my MetaMask popped up. $1.83 to play nouns. I say, why not?
Oh, let's go. But drop the quarter in the slot.
Spinning. All right. Executed. There we go. Now who's going to kick it off? I don't have any nouns in the small, so I can't do it. But we'll see.
All right, so if I go to, I'm going to go here to Etherscan. Okay, so here we are. Here's your call. This is what you just submitted 56 seconds ago. What do it look like here?
These functions are very simple. You just pass it the proposal ID, the queue, the execute. I think even the cancel. You just have to put in the ID of the proposal. So these ones are very simple. I did it on the front end, but you can do it through Etherscan pretty easily.
So where does it change the code? Changes the game? Like where does this trigger a new something?
You're not going to see that. You're not going to see that on this screen. But you can view what it did, like on the prop page itself, I guess.
These transactions?
Yeah. Otherwise, I'm not sure you can see. You can see it anywhere there.
Well, let's look at the fork period and see if it's updated.
All right, click the link.
Which one?
Just the OX6F.
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, you're in a new screen then. We can't see.
Oh, right here. Okay. So I want to read contract.
Read as proxy. And then you can do like fork threshold number 14. This kind of has changed drastically. And that's kind of like probably the biggest one. You only need 39 ounce to trigger a fork now.
Oh, so this is a live number.
Yeah. It's interesting. And then the one below it is the BPS, which is used to calculate that number. So I believe that's what was actually changed on that prop.
Well, the fork period was changed too.
Yeah, that one is the one above it, 13. So
set fork period and set fork threshold.
So now this one is a little different because fork period on this is not in blocks, unfortunately, much to our dismay. This is just seconds. So that's a little bit of a different thing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of upsetting, but more predictable that way. There must be a reason that I don't understand. But we do like when things are in blocks. But yeah, by executing that prop, we've made it very difficult for littles to join fork one, if it happens.
Through a valid vote, you mean?
I mean, that's the only way, yeah.
Well, isn't it? Aren't they voted on by just the smart contract? Like a, what is it? The votes are cast by humans, right? They're not cast.
That is, the votes at nouns are cast by a multi-sig, but the treasury the DAO at some point delegated voting rights to that multi-sig through an on-chain prop.
Yeah.
So a delegate can't do anything with regards to a fork. It can only vote.
Yeah, you're right.
Only the true owner of a noun can signal a fork.
So that'd be the Lil Nouns treasury contract.
Yeah, which would require a proposal, which would have had to been done the moment that this prop went live for a chance to kind of join that fork, probably, or like shortly after the prop went live, because there was still a 10-day period on it. And then it probably would have had to been proposed to either escrow or join fork, and even then it could have been a little tricky because anybody can execute a prop. So if the time wasn't right for those, then it wouldn't have worked out either. So either way, it was really tricky. And when you're in escrow, you can't do any voting or anything, which is kind of not ideal for Little. So either way, it's tough, but this kind of solidifies as near impossible to join this fork. There'll always be another one.
I wonder if that was really considered at Lil's. How did Lil's vote on this prop, actually?
I think it was against.
Yeah. Well, no, there were only 15 against votes.
Okay, never mind. So what was it? It was a 4. That's interesting. I mean, I delegate my vote, so I plead ignorance on this one. But that's an interesting vote. I'd have to go check.
Yeah, dude, it sounds like you didn't consider your voter persona when you delegated your Lil Nouns vote on this prop, because they didn't really consider the Lil Nouns position.
Actually, Mike Good voted abstain. It was T-Mobile, and then a very large holder that I don't know if we know who it was that voted for and swayed it. So I maybe I don't know. No comment. The 10% is alluring for Littles because it gives a second chance, but the period does not. So I don't know if this prop was read in full before the vote was done or like properly thought out, or if when they those 4 voters saw this prop, they should have put a prop up at Littles, but I guess they didn't. And again, we kind of see that the pro forkers in Littles don't kind of see the whole picture. I guess I don't really know. Just to kind of be blunt, drop the ball, as they would say. And I'm getting unnecessarily worked up, but
it's a complicated game. Why don't we?
I don't know. You don't drop the ball twice, I guess, but apparently you do. Sorry to my fellow Littles who voted for.
Well, let's shift gears a bit and talk about all this stuff that's gone on chain recently. Can we do like a speed round here? Lower fork threshold to 10%, obviously passed, big change. It's been executed now. Sale nouns, big defeat. Anything to say about that one? This one went down. 4 votes.
I think the feedback on this one was that it's just too much at once, maybe too much money at once. There were actually some 4s that kind of signaled maybe the sailing event on a smaller scale would be interesting. I do happen to be in this photo, so this is awkward, but
it's sort of like where's Walto with the toad.
That toad was kind of amazing.
Oh. Okay, so moving right along. What else do you want to talk about here? We had Big Nars prop. We had this Gardener's prop.
Yeah, we had a couple of like reattempts. So the public beer prop had gotten defeated narrowly in the past in the middle of all like the ARB fork. They came back and they passed, so that was kind of cool to see, I guess. I kind of like that prop. I think they're doing good. Moderate asks. Team delivers really, really good graphics too on this prop. Shout out to JP and whoever else he worked with. Little Nouner JP.
Oh yeah, sort of like Fidenza in the background.
Little Fidenza-ish, yeah. But they're nice. Can't say no to this one. I couldn't say no to this one, even though I don't drink beer. Nars was another attempt that passed. I don't know if this is considered attempt 3, but at least attempt 2 on this specific prop to bring 1 million shredders on chain. Again, kind of like some of the feedback was that it's just a lot at once. But at the end of the day, let Nars do their thing was the sentiment. So we'll finally get to see Nars do their thing. And they have a chance to prove all the haters wrong.
Yeah, 300,000. They came down quite a bit from their ask since Prop 187. Quite a bit down, which is good.
Yeah, I think it's a moderate ask. I'm really into the skatable noggles and the skate park thing. The other stuff, I'm not as deep into Nars, so I can't really comment on. But you know, it's always fun to see kind of like the noggles in those videos. Unless you're SQ, then maybe. Actually, maybe he came around to them. I feel like he used to not like them because, you know, hesitancy against injury and liability. But Borg says, let them shred.
Shout out Fantastic Planet. Thanks for the comment. Nounish Punk playable demo. Did this thing pass? Yes.
Passed this morning. It was losing by a bit for a while, and then it had a little bit trouble hitting that threshold. And then it kind of shot past the threshold. Still, again, like all the props have mixed reactions, even if they do pass. And so this gives Arashi a chance to, like, again, prove that he was worth funding. It's a little bit of a trial phase here. I ended up voting for to support my little Nouner, but I was hesitant, to be honest.
Yeah. Shout out Arash. Shout out Lil Nouns. Persistence, man. How many times has Arash put himself out there on chain? Just keeps coming back, keeps at it. There's something to be said for that, right?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, games are hard, but I guess if you're going to be that kind of like persistent, then maybe you're the guy to make the game happen. We'll see.
Breaking news here to NounsTube, at least. Did this thing pass? It did. It did, and it cleared threshold.
NounsTube. I don't know. Where was NounsTube all day? This is the hot topic the morning. Especially in littles. NounsTube's got to get it together over there.
So you were initially you lent out the nouns to get Arash on chain, right?
Yeah, he got a noun from someone else, and then he needed 2, so I gave him the other one to get on chain, or maybe it was 3 at the time. I think it was 2, but give another one to get on chain, and he failed at that time. And he came back with a completely different game, though.
I got to say, though, I remember at the time your logic was you weren't even necessarily supportive of that first prop, but you thought that the DAO at least owed him an answer, and that you supported him getting on chain to get an answer. Turned out that first one was no. Second one was no. How many were there? I mean, this has got to be what, the third or fourth? that finally got through?
He's tried a few different variations. He tried like a YouTube channel too, but so I don't know if this is third or fourth, but at least the third. And yeah, so I guess maybe long term, getting on chain and getting feedback and coming back kind of worked in his favor. If this was the first prop from him, I don't think it would have passed. So there is something to be said. Whether that's good or bad for the DAO, I don't know. But yeah, he got his chance again, and I think it paid off.
Yeah. Shout out to Rosh, man. Shout out to Rosh. Hey, real quick, 388 here. This is we had Peter a couple weeks ago. He got on chain. He got 32 votes for this. That's honestly more than I expected.
Yeah, it's actually quite close. The against feedback is kind of, I think we sort of expected some of that to happen. Some of it's pretty strong. It's like kind of an awkward time in the DAO because the burn is coming and
them fighting words.
Yeah, so it's just a weird, I don't know, strange dynamic with staking and the burning of ETH. Yeah, Peter's here. I haven't voted yet. I feel bad. I don't know. I wait to the very end.
Peter from OETH, shout out Peter.
I want to vote for Peter, if I could, just Peter himself.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna DM Peter if he wants to hop on. We're not gonna linger too long here though, because we got a couple more important props to talk about. 394, burn emoji in front. I think this is the first prop that has an emoji that leads off with an emoji. Look at this, proposed by Alad.Nogs, sponsored by Wiz.Nogs. This one is going to be a consequential one. We got Pete on the line. Pete, sorry, we're just winding down the show. I'll give you just a couple sentences if you want to plug 388. Thanks for coming on, man.
You guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Happening. Oh, thanks for letting me come back on. Wow, I joined the show pretty late, so yeah, the timing was perfect. Yeah, I know that the timing's still kind of weird for this proposal, with the fork that just happened not that long ago, and the burn that's probably happening pretty soon. But it's still, I guess, it's still got a surprising amount of yes votes, and there's still some time left for people who haven't voted who might be interested in testing out OETH. The product hasn't changed since I came on last. It still is earning passive yields for all those who are holding it in their wallet, and it would do the same for Nouns if this prop were to pass.
Awesome, Pete. Thanks for coming on. Hey, could you give us a quick overview? Like, what has your experience been up to this point with Nouns?
It's been interesting. Mixed reviews, to be honest. But I think it's almost tough to describe because there's so many different kinds of people that voted on this. For those that were strictly against it because they thought it was too high risky, and others that voted no because they thought that Nouns should only be spending, and then the people who vote yes it was kind of a mix too. For those that were down to test out the product as an easy way to earn yield, and others who were voting yes because they thought that maybe the Nouns protocol should, or Nouns DAO should be putting a little bit of their treasury to work and having it grow a bit. So mixed feedback, definitely. Actually, over like the last 2 days, I've been basically reaching out to every single person that's voted no, trying to get a better understanding for why. And unfortunately, most of them just ignored me, which is too bad. But overall, it's definitely been a learning experience.
I love the zero yes vote as a campaign. I don't know if you've seen that before. How did you know that you could vote with 0 votes?
Honestly, I didn't. I was just on the page. What was the website called? Census.wtf. I was on that page and gave it a shot, and I guess it worked.
Yeah. I love it, man. Thanks for coming on. Yeah, you got a wide range of yes votes. You got Noun 12, 9 votes for. He's kind of an OG. That surprised me. I think you did really well. Still some time left. Okay, Index, we got just a couple more minutes here. Want to jump ahead to 394. Like if you had to explain this to Peter in like 30 seconds, Index, how would you describe Prop 394 and what it's contemplating here?
Oh boy. It kind of changes all the time, but essentially there's going to be a mechanic that looks at, let's say, 90 or 100 noun auctions, takes the average auction price, and then kind of extrapolates that over the treasury, and any excess ETH higher than that would be eligible to be burned if it's not spent. So that essentially is trying to close out any arbitrage opportunity. I think that's kind of like the simplest I can do it without going deeper, but
interesting.
Yeah. So it's essentially taking an average of all the auctions, calculating a value out of that, and then burning any excess ETH after. What are your thoughts, Penny?
Burning ETH is something that you don't see too often. I actually only know of one other DAO that has ever considered that, since it's such a blue chip digital asset at this time. And I think that DAO, if I remember correctly, is Cult DAO, which is definitely a lot smaller than Nouns in terms of active members and size of the DAO treasury. It's an interesting thought.
Yeah. I mean, this kind of just makes it possible that this excess can be burned by anybody. So anyone can come along, call the transaction. But again, most of the burn believers think that it would never actually come to a burn, or if it did, it would be quite small. It's just kind of like encoding, and it's been talked about a while that there's a camp that thinks the Nouns treasury should be spent. And this has caused a little bit of a stir in the DAO, but this would encode at the protocol level that the money must be spent or it's gone.
Can you give an example, Index, of like how much would be burned or eligible to be burned?
Man, it kind of depends, but it could be a few thousand ETH. Roughly, it could be at least a couple thousand ETH, maybe more.
But there would be kind of a lag time, and it would be like predictable. And so the thought is,
yeah, you would have they would kind of telegraph, and they would say at noun ID N, and that may be like 90 nouns in the future, 100 nouns in the future, or something like that. The burn can begin, and so once that noun is minted, people can burn. There's talks of it maybe slowly increasing over time. I don't really know where they've landed yet. I don't know if they know where exactly they've landed yet, as in the verbs and whoever else they're talking with. But they're trying to secure the funding and move the process along quickly before I think they have the code to audit. If that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's interesting to me about nouns is there are a lot of people who don't quite see the value and see what nouns can do. But in certain areas, like in combating this sort of protocol arbitrage opportunity, the DAO itself is like moving with remarkable depth into really tackling this issue by really just exploring, just inventing new mechanisms. It's really quite amazing.
Oh, it is amazing. It's kind of exciting to be a part of it. No matter how you look at like the burn or the fork or anything, it's pretty crazy to just kind of like partake in it. If you could step back from it for a moment.
Yeah. Yep. So this is the verbs. This is just money for an audit. I would imagine, a protocol update that enables this is still a long ways away. A lot could change, right? Index. I mean, this isn't something that's going to go up soon.
I don't really have a timeline for you on this. It's not going to go up like immediately after this prop, so we have some time. But yeah, think at least like 100 nouns in the future, maybe. We might see some burning or potential for burning. Somewhere around there, maybe. There's a lag time here. We're still maybe looking at a couple more forks down the road.
Amazing. Just to close it out here, last couple of minutes, gonna check out these candidates. I notice this is amazing. There's already some memeing within the memeing here. Proposed by WAG, of course. The churn.
Noun 68. If you see Noun 68, that's WAG.
Amazing. But we've seen some proposals start out sort of as candidates that have now been executed. Peter, you were one of the first, but there's been quite a bit coming in here on the candidates. Do we feel like that's been successful? Anything you want to say about that so far, Index?
I can add one quick thing about that. I mean, just since I got to experience it firsthand, it was a lot easier to go through candidates than going through the normal way of having two nouns. I mean, at least while I was able to do it with one noun. I know that might be changing soon, but it was definitely a lot easier than the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, definitely. I think candidates has been a great feature. At first, it kind of was weird because now it meant noun holders only needed one noun really to kind of play the game, and people without a noun could play the game a little bit more easily maybe. But I like it. Still kind of finding its fit in the DAO, I think, and a lot of front ends are kind of tackling like UX around candidates. But I kind of reframed the candidate thing in my head earlier today, and we haven't gotten here in the DAO yet, but because of candidates and like noun holders only really needing one noun to kind of play, or maybe needing zero, but let's just say they need one noun here to play and post for free, that potentially allows for more members of the DAO to join, if that makes kind of sense. So like I don't need two nouns really, I can just have one. So at like a fixed supply of one per day, that allows one other member to join, whereas maybe an existing member would have acquired multiple nouns. I don't know if I'm making sense on that thought, but we don't see it right now because of arbors and forks. But I think the less of a need for multiple nouns is kind of actually a good thing for the DAO.
Yeah, that's interesting. And also, you can really be a contributor and have consequence with zero nouns, right? You just pay the 0.01 ETH. It just makes it, to me, it makes a clear path to be a contributor. You don't have to go through a sub DAO. You don't need any social layer. You really just need 0.01 ETH, and you can go on to really contribute ideas, code, all kinds of things.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then to like the one noun to propose thing, that is going up in a few nouns. But if this fork number one happens, then it's probably going to extend that runway a little bit longer. So in like 5 or so nouns, it'll become 2 to propose. But if we see a fork in the next like 5 days, then we'll have another like 40 plus noun runway.
Are we expecting to see another fork happen soon?
So the threshold just dropped to 10%, which means you only need 39 right now to signal a fork. And I don't know what the numbers are, but it's much more likely that it's going to happen again soon.
Damn.
We actually executed that protocol change live on the air here about 20 minutes ago. It sounds like right before you got on, Peter.
Just missed it.
There's WAG, now 668. Look at that, 204 ETH. Oof. That was a long time ago.
That's a lot of ETH. Let's see. Oh. And that's just two. That's was that the winning bid? Yeah, that was.
Sorry, what was
around here.
what was the USD number there?
Estimated value on day of transaction.
Oh my
696,000, huh?
I try not to look at mine ever. I forget what it was. Not nothing like that. Divide that by 10 probably.
Awesome. Well, hey, it's been a great show. I want to thank Peter for coming on. Want to thank all of our listeners on YouTube. Thanks for the comments. SQ, Mike, Peter, Borg. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We'll be back next week with more Let's Play Little Nouns. Thanks again for tuning in.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me again.
Nouns.
Sizzle reel.
To have a show where people can kind of watch and understand what the whole process is, I think would be super valuable.
Nouns is designed for permissionless creativity. You should just start doing stuff.
Oh my God, the deadline is in 9 minutes.
Do these live interviews.
That's actually really a really good question.
There are really very few yellows that are usable.
Larry King.
Stream directly to Twitter.
It's very funny to me that Will Price was in the intro.
Easier to stumble upon.
Ethereum is a name that describes a particular network.
Playing nouns like a game.
How well you know your onions.
Oh, I'm so bad at this.
A very fun, cool example of what's possible here.
Submitted.
Watching you work in Figma is very enjoyable in itself.